On the fifth day of aircraft, I recreated a monstrosity. That didn't really work with the singing, but here we are. You may or may not remember the GI-14 Mangle, which was made a long time ago before we had liquid fuel tanks, and so the center tank on it was containing an oxidizer and fuel tank with only fuel in it, right here, and I have giant drop tanks because this is also back before I realized that these engines were not good engines for low altitude stunt maneuvers. They're better for flying very high, very fast, and of course SSTOs. But this is a stunt plane, and you know what? That is an iconic part of it, so when I made the Mangle II, I kept them around. It has a slightly weird center of lift indicator due to all the angled wing surfaces, and that also gives it a strange, one might even say uncanny, ability to fly at extremely low speeds, as I will soon demonstrate. If you are wondering why it's the GI-14, that's because back then I was using the moniker Guard13007, and I released my craft under the term Guard13007 Industries, and thus we had that particular design, decision, naming convention. In any case, this is also just a chaotic beast, really, and actually not hyper maneuverable, which is what it was intended to be. It'd probably be better to go ahead and replace those engines with Panthers. I might do that. I don't know. It's also very fast, of course. I'm going to go ahead and cut the engines. I'm going to leave the drop tanks attached for now, and I'm going to demonstrate its extreme low speed flight capabilities by coming in for a landing at around 30 to 20 meters per second. You can see we're maintaining nearly stable flight even as the speed continues to drop quite drastically. We do lose control authority eventually though, and it was right about there that we did, and therefore we went ahead and came down. I'm going to go ahead and drop those and pull back off the ground, and my point now is demonstrating that at full speed with these engines on and the main fuel only, oops, that almost was a disaster. You can see we have about 300 seconds of burn time, and you can see it's actually reducing quite a bit more as the engines spool up, so you can see now it's closer to 200 already. Uh-oh. Forgot I had a scientist in the cockpit, as I have had in all of these videos recently, because I never remember to change that. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and drop those tanks again on the runway, and we're going to do this again, this time without quite as insane maneuvers. Of course, it does have an insane thrust-to-weight ratio, as you can see by the fact that I just was like, yep, we're going straight up now. And of course it can pull way too many G's for any Kerbal to handle, which is why you must be careful flying it if you have that particular setting enabled. Well, if you have it enabled and, oh shit, I did it again. If you have it enabled and you have a, whatchamacallit, you have it set to a lower value like I do, because technically the default value, going so fast that even the tiniest turns is too much for her. But, yeah, it can be very hard to turn this without knocking out a Kerbal immediately. Oops, almost did. If I had my joystick plugged in, I'd do better. And I do actually have my joystick with me now. As I mentioned a few videos ago, I did recently move, so I didn't have everything with me and I didn't have everything unpacked, and I still don't necessarily have everything with me or unpacked, but I do have more of it, and you can see we were below 200 seconds of burn time already before I cut the engines. Of course it went back up a bit as they spooled down, but yeah, this thing has an extremely short flight time, extremely low endurance, as the saying goes. But yeah, I figured it was time to update a classic design anyhow. And classic in the worst sense, because it's not a great design. I mean, parts of it are good, but the overall design isn't great. Also, it does have massive air brakes, which I completely forgot about repeatedly, because I don't know, I just forgot. They're incredibly useful for going from, you know, Mach infinity, like this thing likes to do, down to a reasonable speed relatively quickly. Speaking which of, let's see, how hard can I pull back? Yep, it's controlled flight at sub 20 meters per second, only for a moment. Of course, that could make this a carrier-capable aircraft with that particular capability. Anyhow, shorter video today. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in space.